Hello to all of you Magic Realms aficionados, I'm Jean-Michel Grosjeu and I know that if you are still watching my videos after the first 5 ones, that means you desperately want to play this legendary game Magic Realm from Richard Hamblin, published by the Avalon Hill Game Company. And I'm sure you're confident that you are ready to sit down at your game table and start to play right now, but no. Please wait a little bit more because there are still a few rules that you would miss in the Magic Realm. A few rules that you cannot ignore if you want any chance to survive. Magic Realm is not an exploration game. This is not a game you can discover as you go along. Magic Realm is a world you must know before you dare to face it. In this 6th video, I will talk about horses, about tremendous monsters and other special creatures, but also about visitors, missions and campaigns, about magical treasures, how they work, and finally we will dive as deep as we can into the arcane of magical spells, what they do, how they will transform you or send you flying. And so, let's jump right in with horses. There are 3 types of horses in the game. The most common ones are pack horses. But you can also find war horses, stronger and more sturdy, and ponies, lighter but faster. Horses have round golden tokens. At the beginning of the game, all pack horses can be bought from the rogues at the inn, all war horses from the order at the chapel, and all ponies from the bashkars at either of the 2 campfires. In fact, horses are like items. You buy them with the trade action. Their cost depends on their exact capabilities and can be found on the general price list. This pack horse base price is 8 gold coins, while this other pack horse costs 11. Every horse counter is unique. And this is only the base price. With a trade action, as you remember, you'll have to roll dice on the meeting table and get a price multiplier. So, nothing really new here, just remember that a horse is, for your character, some kind of an item that he can buy, equip with and sell. Okay, and the first use for a horse is to carry your other items, or even to carry yourself. The woods girl bought a horse. Later during her journey, she finds the Sacred Grail. And that's a shame because she cannot carry it. Her best move cheat being of light strength, she cannot carry a medium weight item. But a horse can. The letter on the horse token shows the weight it can carry. This horse can carry medium weight items. Fine, the woods girl can go on with the Sacred Grail she found. Even better than that, because the woods girl's own weight is light, her horse can carry her. She can ride this horse. In order to show that, the woods girl just activates her horse token. She puts it on her personal card and that's it, she rides her horse. Like any other item, she can activate or deactivate her horse at the beginning of any activity, at the end of the evening or in battle during the encounter phase. If the horse is active, the character is mounted on it. If it is inactive, she is walking beside. Of course, either mounted or unmounted, the horse can always carry character's items. A character cannot ride his horse inside a cave clearing. As a character enters a cave clearing, his horse automatically becomes inactive, unmounted. You cannot ride a horse in a cave. This horse is totally useless for the White Knight. Being of heavy weight, the White Knight cannot ride this horse, he cannot activate it. And with a tremendous move cheat, he can even carry heavy and tremendous items the horse cannot carry. Let's suppose he bought this other horse, a horse which can carry heavy loads. The White Knight can activate and ride this horse, but if he finds the golden icon whose weight is tremendous, he must deactivate the horse because he carries an item the horse cannot carry. Once deactivated, there is no problem anymore. The White Knight walks carrying the icon while his horse is walking beside him. A character can own more than one horse, but of course he can ride only one. If a character rides a horse, he gains one extra move activity. In this example, the white knight can plan these activities for his day. 5 activities. That's one too many, but he can do it because he gets a bonus move activity for riding his horse. It doesn't matter where this move activity is inside his plan. It doesn't have to be the last activity. The white knight could even plan 5 move activities in a single day. Of course, he doesn't get this move bonus if he starts in a cave or enters a cave because he cannot ride a horse in a cave. And this is true even if he leaves the cave and activates his horse after that. The horse bonus is available only if the horse is active at birdsong when the player writes his plan. There is no bonus for riding a war horse. War horses are very sturdy animals that don't give you any move advantage. As we will see, they are more useful during combats. A pony gives 1 bonus move activity for every move activity in your plan. In other words, a pony doubles your move capacity. It doesn't work with the white knight because there is no pony strong enough to carry him, but let's consider the captain instead. His weight is medium. He can ride this pony and plan up to 8 move activities for his day. Fine, and just before going on, perhaps is it time to clarify the rules for the follow activity. Remember, any character can plan to follow another character, and this works also for hired leaders. And, as far as movement is concerned, the rule is simple. The follower benefits from all the movement capacity of the character he follows. And that includes movement bonuses given by special abilities or treasures or horses. The dwarf gets only 2 activities per day. In other words, he never plans any sunlight activities, even if out of a cave. But if he is following another character, the magician for example, he moves exactly like the magician. And if the magician rides a pack horse, he can also benefit from the horse movement bonus. This works with all kinds of movement bonuses. But there is one exception. A character who follows another character can benefit from the pony's movement bonus only if he rides a pony himself. The druid tries to follow the magician, but the magician rides a pony and the druid can only follow him as long as he doesn't use his pony movement bonuses. Fine, you know how to use horses to improve your carrying capacity and ease your movements. And what about combats? What can a horse be useful for in the middle of a battle? The first rule is that an inactive horse is useless in battle. If you don't ride your horse, it doesn't take part in the battle. It is like an item. And that means that a horse is useless if the battle occurs in a cave, because you cannot ride in a cave. Okay, now if a horse is active, if your character rides it, he can use the horse token as a move cheat. It can be used, it is not mandatory. The character can still use a standard move cheat instead. The horse, as a move cheat, is never fatigued, and that's pretty much it. Let's see now how it unfolds. At the encounter phase, the character can use his horse to flee or to charge. Imagine the witch riding a pony in front of a heavy spider. What an epic scene, isn't it? But she doesn't have suitable spell for the situation. She cannot kill the monster with only her dagger, and she would like to flee, but her speed 3 move cheat is fatigued. So what she can do? She can play her pony token as a move cheat because on its other side it has a speed of 3 faster than the spider. All horses have 2 sides. The one with an asterisk is the fastest one, it is called the gallop side. During the encounter phase, the character riding the horse can choose any side he wants, as long as the letter on this side is able to carry the character himself and all her inventory. Note, for example, that the Amazon, whose weight is medium, can ride the same pony but only on its M4 side. It cannot gallop with the Amazon on its back. And so, the Amazon cannot use her pony to flee from the spider. However, in this example, she can use her own speed 3 move cheat. Even if her pony is activated, she can still use a standard move cheat. A character can use his horse to charge another character. Here, the elf can play his pony on its gallop side to charge the Black Knight and prevent him to alert his mace because his best fight cheat is not faster than the pony. And moreover, a horse token used as a move cheat never fatigues. So, as we will see just after that, that same horse counter can still be used as a move cheat during the ensuing battle plan. Very convenient, isn't it? Especially for light characters who can ride the fastest ponies. But what happens after that for the battle plan and its resolution? After that, it's all the same. An active horse can be played as a move cheat. But of course, there are a few limitations. First, if you used the gallop side, the side with an asterisk, during the encounter phase, your horse cannot stay on this side for the battle plan. In our example, the elf used his pony on its gallop side during the encounter phase to charge the Black Knight. So now, for his battle plan, he can still use his pony as a move cheat, but not on its gallop side. He must flip it. Then both characters, targeting each other, plan their battle round. The elf uses his pony to move and strike with his bow. You can imagine what a nice scene, Legolas shooting arrows from his horseback. The Black Knight on foot knows he won't move fast enough to avoid the bow speed of 1, so he plays his best fight cheat to at last undercut the pony speed. Resolution: with a length of 14, the bow fires first. But the elf must roll on the missile table. Only one die, this is the elf's special ability, but with a 5, he doesn't inflict enough damages, he doesn't even wound him. And then the Black Knight strikes back. With a speed of 3, he undercuts the pony's maneuver, but when a character uses a horse as a move cheat, the horse is always hit instead of the character. So here, the Black Knight inflicts medium damages that would kill the elf, but kill his pony instead. Ponies have a medium vulnerability, heavy for pack horses and tremendous plus armor for war horses. If a character uses a war horse as a move cheat during a battle, his horse will always take the hits and will never be wounded because a horse, like any monsters or natives, don't incur wounds. Therefore, you understand how powerful it is. A war horse makes you practically immune to any attack. But don't forget that horses are useless in caves, because you cannot activate them in caves. And we will see very soon that nobody is immune to tremendous monster attacks. Okay, that was for horses that characters can buy and use. But there are other horses on square tokens. These horses belong to native fighters. A native horse on a square token bears a number, the same number than its rider. A native horse is attached to its rider. These two tokens always stay together, stacked in the same clearing, and that means that a character cannot buy nor steal a native horse. A character cannot use or ride a native horse. Characters can only use horses on round tokens, never square tokens. When a character hires a native fighter, he hires his horse with him. The horse by itself has no cost. You hire the fighter, you hire the horse. A native horse is always active. Its rider always rides it. Unless they go into a cave clearing because nobody can ride a horse in a cave. In fact, both counters, a native fighter and his horse, always stay stacked, but we know that the horse is active outside a cave and inactive inside. A native horse has two sides, its standard light side and a dark gallop side with an asterisk and a faster speed. During the day, a native horse has always its light side up, and it gives to its rider the same movement bonuses as all other horses on round tokens. Okay, fine, but as you guess, combat is where horses really shine. In combat, the golden rule is that a native fighter cannot be hit while his horse is still alive. So a character or a monster or another native cannot target a rider, he must first target his horse. kill the horse, and only after that he can target the fighter himself. Of course, this is only valid if the horse is active. An inactive horse doesn't participate in combat. In other words, horses are useless if the battle occurs in a cave. Let's take an example. The captain did hire a soldier who came with his pack horse. And let's say that in the open, outside of any cave, they both stumble upon a giant snake. With his light sword, the captain can do no harm to the snake because it is armored and of heavy vulnerability. So, he asked to his soldier to lure the snake on his own melee section. When a native fighter is luring a monster with a horse, the player can choose to put them both in the same box or not. He can also choose which side he deploys both counters. Here, he chooses to let them both with their light side up, but in two different boxes. He has the same choice if he deploys instead of luring. Beware, as we saw before, a horse cannot be on its gallop side, the dark side, the one with an asterisk, during the encounter phase and the battle plan. If you deploy a native warrior with his horse on a character melee section to prevent him from fleeing, for example, and if you use the horse on its gallop side, the fastest side, you must flip it back to its non-galloping light side for the ensuing battle plan. A horse can never stay galloping for the whole duration of a battle round. Okay, let's see how the battle turns out. The snake can be repositioned, and it is actually. And it does change tactics. Resolution: the soldier strikes first with a weapon length of 3, but he is not fast enough to undercut the snake's maneuver, and his attack is not in the right direction. He misses. The snake strikes the native horse because a native fighter cannot be hit while his horse is active. Its attack is fast enough to undercut the slow horse's maneuver. The snake inflicts heavy damages. Native horses have the same vulnerability than common horses, medium for ponies, heavy for pack horses, and tremendous with an armor for war horses. The snake kills the native horse. From this point on, the native fighter will go on without his horse. The wiser decision for the captain would be to flee next round while the snake is on his soldier's melee section. If the native fighter is not hired, so for example, if the captain is attacked by an unhired bashkar riding his pony, the fighter and his horse must always be put in separate boxes. And the horse is always galloping during combat on its darker side, and that means that it is never galloping during the encounter phase. An unhired native on a horse always keeps his galloping side for the battle plan. And that's it. That's how horses work in the Magic Realm. They give movement bonuses during the day, and in the evening they provide advantages in combat. War horses are slow but can absorb tremendous damages, while ponies allows fast defensive maneuvers. And now let's talk about some special monsters, beginning with ghosts. There are 2 ghosts in the game. A ghost is a medium monster, but what makes it unique is that it is the only monster that is not on the setup card. At the beginning of the game, all cheats on Valley tiles are flipped. 4 of them are replaced by dwellings, but the 5th one, the Bones V yellow cheat, is replaced by the 2 ghosts, with their light side up on the tiles clearing number 5. They are the only monster on the board at the beginning of the game, and because they have no box on the setup card, they never match the monster roll, so they never move, they just block whoever walks unhidden through their clearing. If they are killed, they stay out of the game, but on the next regeneration day, day 7, 14, 21 or 28, they come back to their 5th clearing, where their Bones V yellow cheat is whatever the monster roll. The next special monster is the Spear Goblin, and what makes it special is just that it has no attack on its light side. This monster can cause damages only if it changes tactics, so It comes as a huge stack of 6 units, but virtually harmless as long as they don't change tactics. Next, the demons. 2 tremendous monsters, the demon and the winged demon. These 2 monsters attack by casting a spell, the Power of the Pit. They select a target like all monsters do, but their spell is triggered just before the battle plan phase because it's an instant spell. The Power of the Pit implies a dice roll on the Power of the Pit table. Demons are also red-sided tremendous monster. We'll see just after that what that means. And finally, there is the Imp. This is a smaller demon. It works like its greater brothers. Its main attack is to cast a spell, the Curse. It selects a target and rolls on the curse table. The Imp is not a red-sided tremendous monster, so it can change tactics like all monsters do. When its dark side is up, he attacks with fangs and claws without casting his spell. And so let's see what these scary tremendous monsters are. There is 1 tremendous monster guarding each treasure location, but the last one, the statue. Plus 5 others on the loose, 2 tremendous giant, 1 dragon, 1 snake and 1 troll, for a total of 12 tremendous monsters in the game. It takes tremendous damages to kill them. And moreover, the dragons, the snake and the trolls are armored. But what makes them different is their red side. Each tremendous monster has a red side, and this red side represents their own special attack, some kind of big boss fatality, the death blow they can give to their foe. This red side is not a standard tactics, and so tremendous monsters never change tactics by the usual way. They never roll dice during the change tactics segment of the battle sequence. But once they hit their target, they are automatically and immediately flipped to their red side. Let's take an example. The tremendous snake is attacking the white knight. On its light grey side, the tremendous snake tries to bite the knight. The white knight misses, but the snake hits because it's faster. It causes light damages that do nothing to the knight's armor, but the snake is turned to its red side. Each time a tremendous monster hits, it is flipped red side up. This red side means that the snake just caught the knight in his jaws, and now it is ready to swallow him right away. While a tremendous monster is on its red side, it cannot change target. In other words, it cannot be lured away by another fighter, and even if a native fighter is deployed against it, it keeps its target. It is put on its own melee section, but it doesn't strike the native back. It keeps its target, the white knight, in its mouth, ready to swallow it. There is no way to make a red side up tremendous monster change its target. And as a consequence, its target is trapped. The white knight is the target of a red side up tremendous monster, so he cannot flee. He cannot play a move cheat or a horse to flee during the encounter phase. He cannot alert his weapon during the encounter phase. He cannot use his horse in any way, but still he makes a battle plan. He can play a move cheat and a fight cheat. Being stuck inside the monster's mouth, the knight still moves desperately to avoid being swallowed and strikes the beast. He can even target another monster or character than the snake. But if he is hit again, he is swallowed and killed right away. This is what the attack circle means. There is no attack letter. The circle means if it hits, it kills. Whatever the vulnerability, whatever armors or horses, the white knight goes right into the snake's stomach. And if the snake's target cannot kill it before being swallowed or teared apart, it cannot even hope that with no damages the combat will end after 2 empty rounds. No, because a battle cannot end if a tremendous monster is on its red side. So, all these tremendous monsters have a red side and kill you right away if they hit you with their circled attack. With a little imagination, you can visualize how they actually destroy you. The octopus drags you to the bottom of its dark waters, the demon takes you through a portal to the pandemonium, and so on. But more than that, dragons and giants have also a secondary attack. Dragons have their head, giants have their club. Heads and clubs are separate tokens that fight exactly like a separate monster. Being attacked by a dragon, the White Knight gets 2 tokens on his melee section, the dragon itself and its head. Then, the dragon's head behaves exactly as if it was a separate monster, the only restriction being that it must attack the same target as the dragon's main body. Both must be on the same melee section. In 2 different boxes, but on the same melee section. If the White Knight wants to defend and strike back, he must target the dragon. The dragon's head cannot be targeted individually, only the dragon's body. Then, the dragon's head can be repositioned and can even change tactics. Only the dragon's body cannot change tactics because it has a red side and is turned red side up only when it hits its target. So, on this attack, for example, the dragon's head hits first because it has a length of 9. And note that both standard dragons and winged dragons' heads don't have the same attack length. Okay, the dragon's head attacks first and hits because it is faster than the White Knight's maneuver. It makes tremendous damages and destroys the knight's armor plus 1 wound. Then, by weapon's length order, the knight strikes with his greatsword, but his attack speed of 6 is not fast enough to undercut the dragon's maneuver, and it doesn't strike in the right direction because he must hit the dragon's body. His target is the body, never the head. Then last, the dragon's body strikes with a length of 0. After breathing fire with his head, now he attacks with his claws. And he misses. Not fast enough and not in the right direction. But because the dragon hit the knight with its head, it still counts as a hit for the dragon, and it is enough to flip its counter to its red side. Next battle round, the head still fights as a separate monster. It can still change tactics, it doesn't have to stay on its red side. And it doesn't kill its target right away if it hits. It uses the standard rules of battle. But meanwhile, the main dragon's body is on its red side. It cannot change tactics, and with its circle attack number, it kills the White Knight if it hits. And that's it, you know the whole Magic Realm bestiary. And now let's talk about geography and especially about 2 legendary places, the Lost City and the Lost Castle. At the beginning of the game during setup, the 10 red cheats are mixed with the 8 location orange cheats. And from these 18 cheats, 5 are randomly assigned to the Lost City box and 5 to the Lost Castle box. Then, the 8 remaining tokens are split in 2 groups of 4. The Lost City token is shuffled with the first group, and these 5 cheats are randomly assigned to cave tiles. The same with the Lost Castle for the mountain tiles. And that means that somewhere in the caves lies the Lost City, and somewhere in the mountains or the deep woods hides the Lost Castle. If during the game a character ends his day in a mountain tile, for example, and flips the Lost Castle cheat, it brings immediately to this tile all the cheats of the Lost Castle box. The dwarf just discovered the legendary Lost Castle, and this tile becomes the place where you can discover and loot 3 treasure locations, but also a very dangerous place where a lot of monsters will pop up. The same for the Lost City in the caves. Note that the Lost Castle and the Lost City's tokens stay on the map even if these cheats by themselves cannot summon any monster. They stay there just for the storytelling and because 2 special treasures give you special bonuses in these tiles, the maps of the Lost City and the Lost Castle. Fine, and while we are talking about treasure locations, let's go back quickly to places we already know. There are 8 standard treasure locations. You know that. but among them, 3 have special search restrictions: the cairns, the pool, and the vault. These 3 treasure locations must be discovered on the locate table like any other treasure location, but once discovered, they add some restrictions when you try to loot them, to roll on the loot table. The cairns are huge piles of stones, and you must move all these stones to find its hidden treasures. So, every time a character does a loot action on the cairns, every time he rolls on the loot table, he must fatigue 1 star from his cheats, whatever cheats, move, fight, or magic. The pool requires to dive deep into its cold water, so a character must also fatigue 1 star every time he draws a treasure from the pool. Note that this is less restrictive than the cairns. In the cairns, you must fatigue every time you roll, even if you miss your roll and find nothing. In the pool, you fatigue only when you succeed and actually find a treasure. And finally, the vault. This is an ancient burial cave closed by a heavy stone gate. So first, you must open this gate. After having discovered the treasure location, of course, you must fatigue a tremendous cheat, a cheat with the letter T, before rolling on the loot table. This tremendous cheat can be any cheat, move or fight, and then you can loot. And better than that, once anyone did fatigue a T cheat, the gate is open and any character who discovered the vault can loot it without having to fatigue any cheat. Once the gate is open, it is open. If you don't have a tremendous cheat, either you convince a strong character to open the gate for you, or you can also find the lost keys. If you own the keys, you can open the gate without fatiguing any cheat. And here again, when the gate is open, it stays open for everyone. Fine, and now let's see the treasures within treasures. There are 6 of them, they all bear the letter P with a number, and they are hidden among the large treasures. That means that every time you find a large treasure, it is possible that you draw instead a treasure within treasure. These 6 cards correspond to 6 zones on top of the setup card. The chest is an item. Once your character finds it, it can take it away like any other item, if he is able to carry it because the chest is tremendously heavy. The chest itself is worthless, but if you can open it, it contains 2 large treasures and 50 gold coins. This is huge, but you must open it. And the only way to open it is with the lost keys. So, you must first find the lost keys somewhere else on the board and then open the chest to get its loot. Once opened, you get the 2 large treasures and the 50 gold coins without any roll on any table. Then there is the moldy skeleton. There are the remnants of some old legendary warrior, and everybody in the magic realm knows that this warrior used to wear a legendary armor made of a jade shield, a silver breastplate and a gold helmet. So, the skeleton itself is not an item. When you find it, you just discard its card and take the pile of its 3 pieces of armor and put them in the clearing where you found it. Of course, because the skeleton is cursed, you also roll 2 dice on the curse table and get a curse. You remember, to remove the curse, you must end your turn at the chapel. Only the character who finds the skeleton card must roll. After that, the skeleton card is discarded and nobody else must roll for a curse. Fine, from this point on, the 3 pieces of legendary armor are abandoned as a pile in the clearing. And this abandoned pile must be looted in order to get the helmet, the breastplate or the shield. And everyone can loot, not only the character who found the skeleton card. Then there are the remains of thief. Very simple, you find the card, you discard it and take all the listed items. The living sword, 1 large treasure, 20 gold coins and a roll on the curse table. And finally, the other 3 treasures within treasure work in the same way. The toadstool circle, the crypt of the night and the enchanted meadow. When a character finds one of the three after a roll on the loot table, he puts the treasure card face up on his clearing and he checks its discovery on his personal pad. There is an entry for these three special treasures, so the character who found the card automatically gets its discovery. But other players must find it on the clearing with a search on the locate table, like any treasure location. When a character has discovered the Toadstool Circle, for example, he can do a search activity and roll on the Toadstool Circle special search table instead of the standard loot table. If he gets a 6, he rolls on the curse table, a 5 he rolls on the power of the pit table, and so on, and on a result of 1 or 2, he gets the large treasure or the devil's sword. Note that when the table gives you a spell activity, it is what the enchant activity was called back in the first edition of the game. Each of these three treasures within treasure has its own dedicated search table, with various treasures and effects. The Enchanted Meadow can cure all your fatigue and wounds. The Toadstool Circle can teleport you to the cave clearing of your choice. Like the vault, the Crypt of the Night must be opened in order to be looted. Before any roll on its special search table, the character must fatigue one tremendous cheat or use the lost keys. And finally, the Toadstool Circle is also an enchanted item and there is always black color in its clearing. Voila! Looting the 6th treasure within treasure, you'll find 4 legendary pieces of armor, 4 legendary weapons and 2 legendary horses. Their prices are included in the general list of prices because you can sell them to native factions, and once sold, another character can buy them. Legendary armors are less valuable when damaged, like any other armor, but they are so precious that they have still a cost when destroyed. When a hit destroys a legendary armor, the character keeps it. It is of no use in combat, but can be sold for the value of its material, jade, silver, gold. A destroyed golden helmet is still worth 20 gold coins. Fine. You know the treasures within treasures. You also remember the enchanted treasures we saw when talking about color sources in my 5th video. Now we can talk about potions. There are 13 potions in the game. A potion is a kind of treasure that you can use only once. You activate it to show that you use it, you drink the potion, then you take benefit from its effect until the end of the day, until midnight. So, for example, you can spread your oil of poison on a weapon during the encounter phase of a battle, because the encounter phase is when you activate items. It gives a bonus sharpness star to your weapon until the end of the battle, that is, until midnight. Other potions take effect during the day. Thus, you can activate your poultice of health to double the effectiveness of all your rest activities. You activate it at the beginning of any of your daylight activities, and it works for all your day until midnight. At midnight, your used potion is discarded to a visitor's box on the setup card. Here, the poultice of health is discarded to the shaman's box. That means that any character can now go and get the shaman to buy the poultice of health for a basic price of 2 gold coins. Most of these potions are self-explicit, see the text on the card. Just know that the alchemist's mixture is a pinch of dust you throw at your target. It attacks like a missile weapon of length 11, doing medium damages with 3 sharpness stars. And it can attack 1 target per round until the end of the battle, until midnight. It is a weapon, so you must play it with a fight cheat. The Ointment of Steel acts as an armor, a tremendous armor but of negligible weight. The point here is that any tremendous damage still destroys the armor and makes it ineffective. Finally, the Ointment of Bite affects a weapon and makes it hit even with a fight cheat of the same speed as its targets maneuver. And that's pretty over with treasures. Just a few words about maps and boots and gloves. There are 3 maps in the game: the map of the Lost City, the map of the Lost Castle, and the map of Ruins. The map of the Lost City gives you a bonus of -1 on every locate search roll you make in the Lost City style. The same for the Lost Castle. So, if the Lost City contains 3 treasure locations, the map increases your chance to discover them. Once discovered, the map doesn't give you any bonus on your loot rolls. The same for the map of Ruins, that works on the Ruins tile and all tiles with the Ruins yellow cheat. And finally, magical boots and gloves. The only things to know here is quite obvious. A character can only wear 1 pair of boots and 1 pair of gloves, while he can wear as many cloaks as he wants. Okay, there are plenty of other treasures with their own special powers. Nothing difficult here. I invite you to go to the rules and read their descriptions. In most of the cases, the few words on the treasure card itself are enough to understand. I just want to look with you at 6 special treasures whose powers are not so obvious. With the battle bracelets, you plan your battle as usual, playing your fight cheat as your attack. But at resolution time, you can move your fight cheat to another attack box on your melee section, as long as your target's maneuver cheat is not faster than 5. This last condition makes it a not so powerful item, but who knows, against a slow monster it can do the job. The magic wand allows you to control the red die on spell rolls. First, what is a spell roll? These are all dice rolls on the wish table, the curse table, the power of the pit table, the transform table, the lost table, and the violent storm table. That is, all the special tables that are triggered by some magical spell. And what means controlling the red die? It means choosing the value of one of the 2 dice you roll. So, you roll 1 die only and you choose your final result, which must be equal or higher than this die. With the Eye of the Moon, you can change the weather, but this is an optional rule, and in the regular game, this item is useless. It's just worth 13 notoriety or 13 gold if you sell it. A character who activates the Timeless Jewel don't have to record his plans for the day at Birdsong. He writes nothing and decides on the spot during daylight what activities he does. Next, the amazing flying carpet. As you guess, it makes you fly. We will see in a few moments how flight is handled in the Magic Realm, but for the moment, just note that the flying carpet is like a permanent spell. It must be activated by purple color in order to fly. You cannot fly whenever you want, you need purple color, and once activated, you can fly until midnight. There is a special fly activity, but more on that later. And finally, the Dragon Fang necklace. See this necklace as an artifact with an embedded awaken spell. In the evening, during the encounter phase, a character owning the necklace can cast its spell with a speed of 0 as long as it has a source of purple color. Then, he gets the control of any one dragon in its clearing, whatever its size. We will see just after that what it means to control a monster. Just know that it's a day spell, so this control lasts until next day's sunset. After that, it must be cast again to regain control. And now, before we go to a detailed view on magic spells and all the wonderful stuff you're waiting for, flight, monster control and so on, it's time to look at the bottom line of the setup card, the last part of this card that we don't know yet. 6 special square boxes on the 6th line of the card can hold visitors, missions and campaigns. There are 4 visitors, the Scholar, the Shaman, the Warlock and the Crone, 2 missions, Food Ale and Escort Party, and 6 campaigns, Quest, Pillage, Raid, Revolt, War and Conquer. In fact, there are only 6 tokens. each with an orange and a white side. For example, the Scholar Visitor and the Pillage Campaign are the two sides of the same token. So, if the Scholar is on the setup card, the Pillage is not. At the beginning of the game, all 6 tokens are set up in the last line's boxes, 6 tokens for 7 boxes. That means that one box stays empty. Then, these tokens appear on the board like natives do, with a monster roll of 6 if a character is on the right clearing, not on the tile but on the actual clearing. The visitor or mission or campaign token appears on the clearing. If a token is linked to a native group, it appears where the native leader is. From then, the token stays there and never moves. Visitors, missions and campaigns don't regenerate, they never go back to the setup card, but on a roll of 6 on a regeneration day, all visitors, missions and campaigns tokens are flipped wherever they are. Okay, so since video number 5, you already know the 4 visitors. Characters can go to them and trade with them as with natives, except that they cannot pay drinks. The Scholar sells 3 small treasures, the other visitors sell 2 spells each. A character can never sell back his items and spells to the visitors. Missions. There are 2 missions, Food Ale and Escort Party. They are pick-up and delivery missions. With the first one, the character must take food and ale and bring them to the inn. With the second one, the character must escort some important people to the chapel. At the beginning of any activity, a character in the mission tokens clearing can just take the token and accept the mission. From then, he has 14 days to bring the token to its destination, the inn or the chapel. From the moment the character takes the token, the mission's value is computed. It is equal in gold coins to the double of the distance between the starting point and the goal. This distance is counted as a number of clearings. Mountain clearings don't count double. In this example, the distance would be 12 clearings, regardless of caves, mountains, or even secret passages or hidden paths. And so the reward would be 24 gold coins. When a character takes the mission token, he loses 5 notoriety and regains them only when the mission is done. After 14 days, if he didn't reach the destination, he drops the mission token where he is and never gets his 5 notoriety back. If the food ale token is brought to the inn, it stays there and another character can take it and accept the mission again, but in this case, the new destination is the house. The same for the escort party mission with the guard house as a new destination if the token is already at the chapel. And finally, campaigns. A character can launch a campaign at the beginning of any activity when he is on the same clearing as a campaign token. He takes the token and keeps it for the campaign duration. Each campaign has its own duration, 14 or 28 days. As soon as a character launches a campaign, he must pay its cost, a notoriety or a fame cost or both. Each campaign gives you some targets and the goal of the campaign is to kill all your targets. All dragons in the game for the quest, 2 native groups or more for the other campaigns. And unlike for missions, there is no reward in the end. The only reward is the fame, the notoriety and the gold you will earn by killing all these monsters and natives. And the campaign helps you to do that by giving you partners. The character gains 2 levels of friendship with all his campaign's partners, and his targets become his enemies. Of course, you cannot stay friendly with the people you promised to kill. So, think twice. It doesn't make sense for the Witch King, for example, to take the Pillage campaign because 2 native factions that are neutral to him, the patrol and the soldiers, will become his enemies while he will gain nothing with the Bashkars who are already his allies. This Pillage campaign is far more valuable for the magician who will gain a new ally, the Bashkars, without losing so much because both the soldiers and the patrol are already unfriendly to him. At the end of the campaign's duration, if the character has killed all his targets, he regains the initial cost. Note that a character cannot take a campaign if its cost will bring him to a negative value for his notoriety or his fame. And that's it. Visitors are often good trading opportunities. Missions can earn you easy money. Campaigns are more questionable. If you take a campaign token, be sure to know where your targets are located. It can be risky if most of them are not yet on the board. And be aware that this campaign will probably become your main goal for the whole game. And now let's wrap up this video with an overview of all magical spells. There are 47 spells in the world of Magic Realm, divided into 8 types. After watching my video number 5, you know how to learn and cast them. Spells takes their energy from colors. There are 4 white spells. All are type 1 spells. Type 1 is associated with color white. The White Knight and the Pilgrim are the only 2 characters able to learn such spells. And they can be found in only 2 items, so they are quite rare, and the white color is even more rare, mainly available at the chapel. They are good spells made to heal or to kill demons. The Peace spell prevents one character or denizen to attack. Small Blessing allows a roll on the Wishes table, quite random, but it gives you a 1 chance out of 3 to get a tremendous attack, especially useful for the Pilgrim. Grey spells are more common. They are natural spells. A lot of characters and items are able to cast these spells, but only 3 characters are able to enchant their own grey cheats. But grey color can also be found by enchanting Valley Tiles or the Borderland, the Crag and the Ruins. So, grey spells are much common and much easier to cast than white spells. Their effects are numerous. For example, you have Blend into Background to hide and Fog to block search in a tile. Also, Stone's Fly is an attack spell, quite weak, but that can attack 4 targets at once. It can be efficient against small but numerous monsters. Next, Witch Blue is a technical spell that changes the type of magic cheats. There are 2 other such spells, 1 gold and 1 purple. These are very technical and I let you brainstorm to find the best way to use them in an intricate magical combination. The Curse spell casts a curse at your target. It is rolled on the curse table. Curses are annoyances that can be freely removed at the chapel. With a dice roll of 4 or lower, you more or less force your opponent to go back to the chapel as quickly as possible. Premonition lets you choose when you will play during the day. This spell is very situation dependent. It works only for 1 day, but for example, it can make you the first one to loot a treasure location. And finally, a spell that lets you control a spider or an octopus. We will see just after that how control spells work. The Poison spell adds 1 sharpness star to a weapon in combat, and Remedy, a spell that cancels other spells. This is particularly useful to stop permanent spells, especially your own permanent spells. There is no grey permanent spell, but usually characters with grey spells can use other colored spells, so this spell can happen to be useful. Gold spells, also known as Elven spells, are mainly type 3 spells because gold-colored cheats are made of type 3 magic cheats. They are mainly spells for the elf and the wizard, but other characters can cast them because gold color is quite easy to find. This is the color of Enchanted Wood style, the Borderland and the Crag, of course, and the Deep Woods. First, 2 search spells. Talk to Wise Bird gives you a peer search anywhere on the map that can be helpful, unlike See Hidden Things, which gives 1 extra search activity. This last one is useful only if you get free gold color, for example. If you find the Lost Castle in the Enchanted Deep Wood style, okay, in this case it can be quite useful. Elven Grace changes the speed of move cheats. With it, the elf can get an L1 move cheat that gives him the perfect weapon to face any monster, even the fastest ones. Fairy Lights, we already saw it, one of the 3 technical magical spells. Again, I let you brainstorm. Persuade is a day spell you cast to trade or hire with a native group on the meeting table's friendly column. It's truly powerful, especially with groups that appear on the small and large campfires that can be in golden, enchanted woods. Moreover, this spell allows you to hire giants and ogres for a 14 days period, exactly as if they were a native group. Their wages are equal to their notoriety value. Next is Protection from Magic, the only phase spell in the game. It lasts only 1 round of combat, protecting its target from all spells. So, it can be useful, but it must be very well synchronized to avoid your opponent's best spell. There are 3 gold spells left, 3 permanent spells. As you know from video number 5, these spells don't end and last permanently. They become inert at midnight but are awakened every time its target meets the color gold. The first one, Illusion, is mean. Its target gets a penalty of +1 on every search roll it makes. Okay, the penalty applies only if the spell is activated, so when there is gold color. But if the caster did enchant a lot of golden tiles, or if he follows his target with gold cheats he uses every turn, this can turn into a major annoyance. Lost is not less mean. Every time its target makes a move activity, its destination is randomly selected with the Lost table. Again, it works only with gold color, but again, with bad intentions, it can become very nasty. Both these spells can also target a tile for even weirder effects. And finally, Peace with Nature prevents a character from summoning and moving monsters with yellow and red cheats. And because it is permanent, as long as the character gets gold color, he can freely explore without any danger. Note that it does not work for orange location cheats nor dwellings, but still it can be very precious. And what about purple magic? Purple is the easiest color. Easiest because it is the color you find mostly on enchanted 6 clearing tiles. And 6 clearing tiles are where you find treasures. On top of that, 3 characters are able to produce their own purple color as purple cheats: the Wizard, the Sorcerer, and the Witch King. And moreover, purple is the color with the most spells. First, a bunch of day utility spells. Prophecy, you cast it in the evening and the next day you don't have to write down your plan. At daylight, you freely choose what you do. No need to say how useful it can be. Blazing Light gives 1 extra phase to all characters in the target cave clearing. Phantasm is a little stranger, you cast it in the evening, and the day after you can write activities for a second character, a copy of yourself, who can move, search on the peer table, and enchant. This is a kind of ghost that cannot carry anything nor fight, but still very convenient. Unleash Power changes the strength of your move and fight cheats according to their speeds. It is in some way the reverse spell of Elving Grace that transforms the cheat speeds according to their strength. Unleash Power can allow the Woods Girl, for example, to carry medium items or the Swordsman to give a heavy blow. To these 4-day spells, we can add a 5th one that is an instant spell but also some kind of utility spell. Whistle for Monsters. This spell moves a red cheat to another tile, making the tile you want to explore much less dangerous. It works only on red cheats, not on orange location cheats, so it is the most helpful in the Lost City or the Lost Castle. There are 3 purple attack spells, 3 out of 4, so we can say that purple is the color of combat. Fiery Blast is a light attack with 3 sharpness stars, so it can do tremendous damages, but it is a missile attack, so it must roll on the missile table, and you cannot know in advance the damages it will do. The Lightning Bolt is more powerful with medium damages and 3 sharpness stars, but also a missile attack. Roof collapses attacks with heavy damages, without any sharpness star and without missile roll. It is a striking attack. Their respective attack lengths are slightly different, but what makes the real difference between these three attacks is that Fiery Blast can be used anywhere and strikes any number of targets in its clearing. The Lightning Bolt works only in a mountain clearing and strikes only one target. And finally, Roof Collapses works only in a cave clearing and strikes everybody, even the spellcaster himself. So, as you understand, they can lead to very different game styles. Elemental Spirit, you remember, one of the three technical spells. Let's go on. Then you have a nasty spell, Violent Storm. This is a day spell that targets the entire tile and causes a loss of activities for the next day for everyone in woods or mountain clearings according to a die roll on the Violent Storm table. And because it doesn't work on clearing with a dwelling, all dwellings but the two campfires that are in the open air, nor in a cave, a character can take shelter and cast the spell toward his opponents, nasty. And here comes 4 permanent spells that last forever. The first Ancient Artifact is a meta spell, a spell that attaches another spell to an existing artifact or spell book, but because Ancient Artifact is a purple permanent spell, this added spell is only available with purple color. And if the color of this spell is not purple, that means you need 2 colors at the same time. Sense Danger is an easy one. Its target can plan 1 more alert activity per day, but only with purple color. Melt into Mist is a versatile spell. Cast on yourself, it turns you into mist when there is purple color, and that makes you immune to spells and attacks. The ultimate protection if, for example, you can enchant your own purple cheats. And the same spell cast on your opponent makes him powerless as soon as purple color is there. And finally, the mighty Transform spell. It transforms your target, and it can be yourself, into something rolled randomly on the transform table, from a frog to a dragon. The spell's target becomes this creature every time it meets purple color. And it must conform to this creature's capacities. Vulnerability, attack strength, attack speed, maneuver speed. A dragon, an eagle or a bird must fly and cannot move otherwise. A lion, a squirrel or a frog moves by walking the woods. We'll see just after that what flying and walking the woods mean. Hopefully, there's the Dissolve spell, an instant purple spell that cancels these permanent spells. It is often wise to learn side by side your favorite permanent spell and the Dissolve spell to get some control over it. And finally, the last purple spell is quite frantic. Hurricane Winds. This spell forces one character or denizen to fly away from a mountain clearing. It can be used to flee, even from a red side tremendous monster. This is the only way to flee from the grasp of a red tremendous monster. Or it can be used on your opponent to eject him from the battle. The last color of magic is black. Demonic spells. Black is a color you cannot find on the board. It is like white, but there is no black chapel, so black is even more rare than white. 2 characters, the Witch and the Witch King, are able to produce their own black cheats to cast black spells thereafter. And let's start with the most famous black spell, the Power of the Pit. The spell that demons are casting on you, easy but random. You roll dice and see what happens to your target. And with the result of 1, all the clearing contents are sucked into a dimensional chasm to the pandemonium, eliminating everyone, even the caster himself. All unhidden people and creatures, so you'd better hide before casting it. Pentangle is a spell that protects you from spells and demons during a battle. Useful to loot the shrine, the altar, or the statue. Deal with Goblins is a day spell you cast in the evening to be able to hire goblins the day after. Knowing that goblins come in stacks of 6, this spell can build you an impressive army. Goblins' wages are their notoriety value. Broomstick turns your magic cheat into a flight L1 cheat. This is like a move cheat, but that allows you to fly. It can be a must-have for the Witch King, who does not have any move cheat and cannot carry anything by its own means. We see just after that how to handle flight. Then the strange Ask Demon, an instant spell that lets you ask one question to another player, one question to which he can answer by yes, no, or a number. That's strange enough, but it becomes even stranger when you realize that your target must be a demon. That means that a demon must be in your clearing in order to cast the spell and ask your question to any other player. The last two black spells are permanent spells. With Absorbescence, the caster absorbs one monster. So first, this monster immediately ceases to exist, and this even when the spell becomes inert at midnight. And from that point on, every time the spell is activated by the color black, the caster can act and fight with this monster's capabilities. He can fly if the monster has wings, he can attack as a tremendous monster and be flipped on its red side to kill his opponent right away. He can throw spells if he is a demon, and so on. Very powerful as long as you have a source of black color. World Phase make one character disappear from the world. In game turns, it gives him a free hide roll. And as it is a permanent spell, it is like a free hide activity whenever you have black color. Moreover, a character under the influence of World Phase uses the magic side table every time he uses the search activity. With the result counters, you find a counter. Not a card, but a cardboard counter. So, if you are in a clearing with a treasure location you already discovered, and if this location contains some cardboard counters, you take the topmost counter. It is particularly useful for treasures within treasure that contains legendary weapons, armors, and horses. It also works well on abandoned items. This result can also count as a find hidden enemy result as long as these enemies own counters, weapons, armors, or horses. Treasure cards is the same result but with treasure cards. Very powerful, assuming that with this result you find the topmost treasure card, which is usually a large treasure. Perceive spells is again the same result but with spells. On an artifact, a spell book, or a site with spells, you can look at all the spell cards and choose the one you automatically learn. And you find hidden enemies as long as this enemy knows a spell. And finally, Discover Cheat is the same result as on the Locate table. And that's pretty much it with all the spells you can cast, but there are still two spells that are very special because they can be cast with any color. Beware, that doesn't mean you don't need color. You need a color, but any color is okay. These spells can be convenient for characters that don't have enough magic cheat to produce their own color cheat, the Woods Girl and the Magician, for example. Control Bats lasts 1 day. You cast it during a battle, and during this battle you control all giant bats in the clearing as if they were your hirelings. And then, the next day until sunset, you control them like hirelings. They can follow you and you can move them far from the clearing you want to loot, for example. Bad Luck is a permanent spell that gives to its target a penalty of +1 on every dice roll it makes, on any table. That's awful. And this permanent spell activates on any color. On a board where a lot of tiles are enchanted, it can become a nightmare. And so, for its caster, it can be a weapon of deterrence to get peaceful interactions with other players. And here they are, all the spells in the game. You could be happy with this quick description and run to your game table to play at last this wonderful game, but I fear you need some final information. First, you must be able to do the difference between a broken, a released, and a nullified spell. Exorcise, Make All, Dissolve Spell, and Remedy can break spells or curses that affect their targets. When a spell is broken, its target is not affected by it anymore. It goes back to the status it had before the spell. Pentangle, Protection from Magic, and Melt into Mist can nullify spells. That means that the effect of the spell is suspended for a while. For example, while you are turned into mist, you are not affected by any spell, but these spells are not broken. As soon as you recover your former shape, all spells still in effect becomes active again. And finally, Absorb Essence turns you into a monster, but if this monster was affected by a spell, this spell is detached from it. That does not mean that the spell is broken, because if the spell affects other targets, it is still active against them. It's only released from this particular target. Now let's see spells that gives you control over denizens or monsters. And to these spells we can add the Dragonfang Necklace, an item that controls one dragon. And first, let's get rid of the Absorb Essence spell. This is not exactly a control spell because with it you remove the monster from play and get its attributes, so you don't really control the monster, you are the monster. Then we can split the other spells into two groups: the spells which hire denizens and monsters, and the spells which control them. Persuade and Deal with Goblins just open some denizen to being hired. But the job is still to be done. During the following day, you must do the hire activity based on a wage value equal to the denizen's notoriety. If you get a good roll on the meeting table, you hire the whole group for 14 days. Then they follow you and fight for you like regular hirelings. Control is not the same thing. A control monster is like a hired leader. The monster gets its own personal pad where you write its activities at birdsong. Then, during the day, it gets a rank in the player order and does its activities when its turn comes. With the Phantasm spell, this creature is a copy of yourself with limited abilities. For other spells, it's a monster. All these spells are day spells, so beware, you get this control for only one day, until next sunset. Enough time to finish the fight with your control creature at your side during the evening and to move it the next day. If you take control over a flying dragon with the necklace, you can mount it and fly across the map board. And this leads to the last thing I can teach you about the magic realm: how can you fly? But before flying above the highest mountains, just a few words about the opposite: crawling through the bushes. When you cast the transform spell on a character or even on yourself, you can turn him into a frog, a squirrel or a lion. And these three creatures can walk the woods. That means that with a move activity, they can go to any clearing in the same tile. Riding his horse, the sorcerer stands on top of a little mountain. He found the sacred grail and is going back to the chapel to sell it to the order. In the evening, using his purple cheat, he casts the transform spell on himself and he becomes a squirrel. Okay, from now on, his strength is light. Even if his better move cheat is M, he cannot carry any item heavier than light. But his horse can still carry the sacred grail. Yes, a squirrel with a horse. It's possible in the magic realm. At midnight, he goes back to his human shape, but next turn, he plans this. First, he meditates, then he enchants a magic cheat into a purple color cheat, then he spends this color cheat and becomes a squirrel again. Being a squirrel, he can walk the woods to clearing 3 despite the lack of path. And his horse can follow him. Horses can walk the woods, but only to follow a character that can also. And thanks to his horse, the squirrel sorcerer can take his sacred grail with him. Beware, walking the woods works only inside a tile. When walking to the chapel style, the sorcerer must follow a path, even in the shape of a squirrel. Next turn, he will be able to sell the sacred grail. Okay, but what would have happened if he had rolled a 3 on the transform table? He would have turned into an eagle, and an eagle doesn't walk the woods, an eagle flies. So it's pretty much the same. Next turn, the sorcerer creates a purple cheat to turn into an eagle again, and he flies to the valley tile. The fly activity is very close to the move activity, but its destination is a tile and not a clearing. Like for a regular movement, the flying character must be able to carry all his items. An eagle can carry any medium item, so he can carry the Sacred Grail. Of course, a flying character cannot take his horse with him. The sorcerer will abandon his horse in his starting clearing. So, the sorcerer planned the flight to the Awful Valley and he could not state any particular clearing inside this tile. He moves to the tile and throws a single die to get the clearing where he lands. He rolls a 2 and lands on clearing number 2. And finally, he ends his day by moving to the chapel. If he had rolled a 1 or a 4, he would not have been able to move to the chapel and his last move would have been cancelled. When you fly, you can never be sure in advance where you will land. You can take off from a cave clearing or land into a cave clearing. In the Magic Realm, flying creatures can explore caves thanks to a lot of chimneys. As soon as a character takes off, he becomes unhidden, you cannot fly and stay hidden. Okay, there are several ways to fly. As we just saw, you can become a flying creature yourself with the spell Transform. You can fly with the broomstick spell that creates a fly L1 cheat that can carry only light characters and items, and the Hurricane Wind spell that creates a fly T1 cheat that must be used immediately toward an adjacent tile. The Flying Carpet is a fly M2 cheat that needs purple color to work, and the Dragon Fang necklace can control a dragon, and if it is a winged dragon, you can ride it like a horse and fly. The same for bats, and I'm sure you'll find other ways to fly, other ways I didn't think of. In battle, a fly cheat can be used exactly like a move cheat. You maneuver with your wings or your broomstick instead of your feet. You can use it as a defensive maneuver or during the encounter phase to charge or to flee. If you flee with a fly cheat, your character token is placed on the map between two tiles instead of between two clearings. Next day, you must start your plan by flying to one tile or the other. And voila, that's it. I have nothing more to teach you. Now that you can even fly, you can do everything that is possible in the Magic Realm. As you know, there is still a last video, the 7th, and it is where I will show you the setup process. This will be quick and easy, but it is something important to know because it will make you understand how the Magic Realm is built and where you can find monsters, treasure locations and native groups. In this 7th video, I will also take some time to introduce you to all the characters in the game. Alors, salut à tous mes amis et à la prochaine!